Okay. Okay. Oops. Yep. There we go. Start. Okay, so what should we do then? You know what? I'll try to wrap out around 1500 today. So we got 2 hours. It says 3 on the schedule. But we'll wrap up 1500. Okay? And we're going to talk about the project. We do that as the last thing. So we'll come back there. Before we go there, we'll talk about section 07. And so we have this afternoon for that now, and we continue on Monday with that. And we could just quickly review what we are going to do there before we go in there. Okay. So I put up some reading guidelines like I usually do. Let's just quickly review them, what I put up there. So I put up 3 video series of this. If you glance through them, you will have all the things you need to actually sort of pass the assignments also. So those 3 places is a good way to actually sort of start learning these concepts that we're going to look at now. So that would be my first suggestion, to actually sort of review them. And if you think that sort of this C# session is going a bit too slow in the start, well, put it on, I did it. I put it on 1.5 times speed. So let's move on. Let's see. I know how to create variables, and so I just want to see them in the context. Move on so I see the more advanced stuff. So do it like that. They are also, when they are doing the C# stuff, they are starting to code in the web browser. That really doesn't work for me because I want to be in the editor, and so. But eventually they move on to the editor, and so just try to move on there. Then we're gonna have sort of, it's 3 parts that this. Now when we move into the Windows world, that we sort of need to deal with. So we will have something that is called the development platform. So we call that .NET Core. That is the one that we all will be using. And you want sort of to have, what is that all about? Where is the documentation? Give me a brief explanation on what it can do for me. So there's a section of starting points there. And we have the same thing for C# as the programming language we're going to use, how to write the code. So it provides you with sort of starting points for the language to see. So where is the guide? And when you are in the guide, okay, it's a tutorial, it's a sort of language reference description. Okay, good. We need to pinpoint these things, what they are doing for us. And then, as for Monday, we'll deal with the ASP.NET, that is the web application part. So today we're going to stay with C# and the development platform. I did put in it's a conference talk of Philip, Swedish guy, I know him, so that's why it's here. He usually goes to conferences and talks to the C# programming language and the features of it, and the feature that is coming. So if you are interested sort of to dive into the programming language, see a bit of different sort of more advanced constructs in the context of a sort of C# class, then that could be a sort of nice place to just have a look at. But consider it as an extra. So, and there we'll also have a reference place where, oh wow, no, yes. It's not, no, I don't want to go there. I thought I was going somewhere else. Okay, I fixed that. I wanted to have a reference documentation for the technologies where we are working with, and I really need to change that link. That should go somewhere else. It should be right into the reference manual where I can search for the stuff. So, not here. There are so many different pages when you're trying to learn these. And when you're starting from scratch, I can imagine it's a bit hard, like in the JavaScript framework environment also. It's a lot of terms. What are they doing for me? Where should I start? Wrap it down for me. So at least we have these 3 parts. So that's what we are going to start with. And just to review the actual assignment, which is then the final sort of coding assignment, final technology that we will be using. So you should install .NET Core SDK. So it's here. And eventually, once you have done it, I just move you on to the download page because it looks different depending on what platform you are. I've installed it on Mac and Linux. Works for me, and I do assume that it will work nice on Windows also. I'm going to use this kind of style for my own examples. So I'm this terminal type of guy. So I stick in the terminal. I'm not brought up in the Windows nice IDE IntelliSense way of working. So I'll stay there, and it's a bit cross-platform also. So you should get up and running, create a new app, run it, nice. That is the installation part. And let's see what the other part was. You are going to build an application. You're going to build 2 applications in this assignment. And let's just see. So for now, I put up the requirements on the console application. So that's more or less what we will cover today. So we're going to do a console application using C#. And those requirements are out there. So, and Monday, I'll add the web application requirements. Going to do some kind of web application using MVC. See how that works like. And again then, these 3 sort of video series that I put up are giving you a very good sort of view on how should I do it? What do I need to know? How should I work? So it's good to have them at your left screen. Okay, there we go. So let's start. Where are we going? Well, we're going here. So reload. Full screen. Go. So I have a short slide session. Just trying to categorize all the techniques that we are sort of moving into the window.NET area. Try to organize them to get a view of what are we supposed to do with this. And once we've done that, we move on to check out some sort of trivial code samples just to see how we write the code in .NET, C#, and try to get them running. And you could actually stick in your role-playing game we started this morning. So role-playing, you are the tech guys, this is the company, let's move on and decide on what will our technology decision be for the coming years. So we did PHP frameworks, we did JavaScript frameworks. Let's move on to the Windows stuff. Should we go in this direction? Should we go for do Windows in our company? So let's start with something we know of. Have you played around with C#? No, so you're quite new at it. So let's start here then. So we're going to do some coding in C#. It's a programming language. It's most typed statically. So we can compare it to Java in that sense. I think if you are a Java programmer, I think you're sort of, yeah, it feels the same, it looks the same. Must be more or less the same. So we have C# and Java. Strong typed languages. We define the types when we declare the variables. And so there is usually not change the type of the variables. So compare that to PHP and JavaScript. So weak types. The type of a variable is sort of implicit by its content. It's just a holder and it can contain a array, a string, a boolean, whatever, doesn't matter. So. Or we could say that all these languages that we have here, C++, C#, Java, PHP, JavaScript, they are sort of object-oriented languages in a multi-paradigm, so we can program in more paradigms than just object-oriented, supporting various ways of writing the code. And this C# and Java sort of, well, they are semi-interpretation. We are sort of compiling the code down to some byte code. It is not like C and C++ where we actually compile the code down to sort of object code. There are another level of interpretation, so we have some byte code, like let's say like we have in Java. And this runtime just-in-time compilation is a behavior of the program running the program. And when it actually executes the program, it can sort of compile parts that is used often and optimize them while the program is running. So it's a small feature. In the latest PHP version, that was a feature, just-in-time compilation, to optimize the running of the program. So. Curly brace languages, they are all like C and C++. There we go. So we're going for .NET Core. It's a cross-platform development environment, and we refer to it as .NET. But that is, when I use my terminal here, I work with the environment through .NET command. I create applications, I compile and run them through that command. And the latest version we are going to work with is 3.1. There. But I don't think I'm not going to give a complete overview of the different various techniques and how they have evolved onto this date. But if we go back like 5 years, 6 years, so somewhere into 2014, I mean, Microsoft did a sort of major technology shift because they were not the company that was too much open source. They were Microsoft, and they were sort of, I wouldn't say that they like to lock their customers into their environment, but something like that. So during the latest years after that, they have strived more and more for the open source community. They put up stuff on the open source. They're driving open source projects, and they want to be a bit more cross-platform. So they have made a large shift of direction on how they work with their sort of internal technologies. That could be fair to say. So they had what they called .NET before. But 2014, they sort of stated, now we are releasing .NET Core, the thing we are using now. But that was the first release. And then it's when they started to move in this cross-platform area, open source. So let's fast forward that until 2019. It's not really a year ago, almost, when they sort of said that they are having something they are calling, they have a lot of .NET, different sort of flavors of .NET, but they have something that is called .NET Framework. And that was their, let's say, old Windows style only framework. And now they have sort of decided that it's end of the road for this technology. So they will not release it in a sort of in a larger sense from now on. So that is let's close that Windows only architecture. So if we were to be, let's say we had a large code base from 10 years back and we were only a Microsoft development company, I would assume that we have a lot of code base developed in this sort of type of platform, only Windows style, .NET Framework. So that road is closed, and we are going this .NET Core, which is this development of from 1.0 to 3.1 currently. And they're also saying that at the same time we're closing down this .NET Framework, we're going for the .NET Core, and that is the way we are moving on from now on. We are moving on with this technology base that is cross-platform, where you can, so Microsoft, we want to give you a development platform that is not only for Microsoft application. We are supplying it for Mac, Unix, and all these mobile platforms. So they are sort of moving in that area. And they have also decided that sort of these two statements there, in the reading material, I put up, there are 2 blog posts around this. So there are 2 blog posts stating why they think .NET Core is the future for their way, and how they are looking at the next release of .NET. So how that will move forward. So there are 2 blog posts. They're really nice to read if you want to actually have a, okay, where are they heading from now on? What will happen in the next years? If I move on to go with a Microsoft tech stack, what will happen? So they are going with something they call .NET 5. So it's a development project ongoing where they try to merge together all the techniques they have and sort of making the platform easier, making it one platform for all target applications. So there are a lot of stuff happening here, and if our company is going in this direction, we should actually have an eye at it to see in what pace these things are happening, will happening. So, okay. So what are all these stuff that are moving along with currently? Let's see what they let's get the terminology. What are the stuff we are talking about? So they are saying that they have .NET. They are saying a lot of free fancy words. So .NET here it's a label of it all. You can do, you can do anything. Yeah, okay. That doesn't help me too much, but okay, I can see. It's free. Might be important for me. It's cross-platform. I can develop on Windows, Mac, Linux, and I can develop for these platforms and the common mobile platforms. Okay, so I'm selecting a technique that sort of gives me, okay, I have the whole area. Okay, that sounds very nice. Okay, yeah, sounds nice. Languages, yes, I can process languages. What are the main languages that I will code in when I go into this, when I buy the .NET world? So I got C#. I wouldn't say it's a new language. It's evolved over a lot of years, and it's changed its code base. And when you listen, like I said, to this, what is that? Fredrik Ekberg. He has knowledge about the code base of C# all the way back. So he's usually quite fun to listen at, educating. So we have a simple model. We have an object-oriented language. It's multi-paradigm, so we can write our code in that, like we could in Java, PHP, JavaScript. Okay. If we want to, we have a functional programming. In our company wants to do functional programming, so we could go in that direction also. They're putting up F# for us, so it's for functional programming, but we can do, it's also a multi-paradigm language, so we can program in the same ordinary ways. But so we have two flavors of the programming language. We can interact between them, use both, or select one of them. We also have this, I really don't know if Visual Basic will be on, I really don't know how future-proof it is, but they have had Visual Basic for a long time, Microsoft, doing some script programming and so. So 3 different languages that they are lifting up. Select one of these when you move on then. Okay, and for our sake we selected C#. Okay, they say cross-platform. That is every platform in the whole computer environment, so that might be a bit large. So let's divide that into different technologies that are supporting the various platforms. So we have .NET Core, and that is the one that we are going ahead with. And it's a cross-platform, it's free, blah blah. For website, servers, console apps, we're going to do both console app and web application, so it's a server side. We're going to do a REST API-ish also, just to get acquainted with it. And we can run it on Linux, Windows, and Mac OS, so that's a nice way to work with it. They also have this, and this is then the older .NET framework, end of the road, will not be further developed, only for Microsoft environment. But that they are still supporting it, and when you go out there and get a job somewhere, they might work with .NET Framework, they might work with .NET Core, they're still just labeling, oh, it's .NET technology. But it will differ. It will differ when you're sort of actually writing in your code and what API you're using. And the mobile stuff. So they have something they call Xmarine. They also add Mono, which is also so environment to run .NET on cross-platform. But Xmarine is sort of aiming at the mobile area. So they're providing us with 3 different sort of frameworks to actually sort of say this is our cross-platform offering. 3 different type of frameworks, and you should select 1, 2, 3, or all of them. And they are trying to give us one standard API. So when we are coding, if we are coding F#, C#, Visual Basic, if we are going for Xmarine mobile platform, or if we are going to the other one, they are trying to sort of give us one nice API where with built-in methods we can use. Libraries we can use. So if we want to work with JSON data, if we want to connect to a database, so they're trying to wrap all that API support into one single point of access. And for all those things that does not sort of fit into this .NET API single point, there is a package library where they and we sort of can add our own packages, modules, download them, install them with a package manager. The same as we did with Node.js. We used npm to install stuff. Yes, we did. I said PHP world has the same. In the PHP world, we call it Composer and Packagist. Also, sort of, it's a ecosystem. So it's some kind of organized way to deal, distribute, maintain, keep versionings of software packages and modules. So they have this new get for that sake. And all these, I wouldn't say it's not easy to be a programmer. No, I would try to say that it's not easy when you're new to technique. And let's see, if I'm going into this technique, I want to load a JSON object. I just want to change it and save it to file again. So read it, change it, save it. Easy thing. And then you're heading into a new technique. And really, it doesn't matter if it's Windows, JavaScript, or PHP. They are always hard to sort of, what is the correct way of doing this now? So when we go into this Microsoft and we would try to Google that, and we get to Stack Overflow or something like that. It is real hard to find out, how am I supposed to do this with the platform I have selected? Because there are a lot of they are sort of saying, oh, it's already built in .NET Core 3.1. Okay, nice. That was the answer I was looking for. But the most answers out there might say, okay, you should go to this package on NuGet.org, and you should load that and use that. So the last 5 years ago, maybe that was the sort of most correct answer. And then it depends, did I go with .NET Framework? Did I go with .NET Core? So it's a bit hard to actually find what is the correct response for my current situation. But really, it's not harder here in the Microsoft environment than it would be in the JavaScript environment. It's things we need to learn as programmers, I guess. So, okay. Microsoft is sort of moving on with this sort of .NET platform, and with new intention also is to wrap all technologies into one smaller package, making it easier for us to sort of select. So it's a good direction. And then they say you can do this on any type of application. Yes, we know that, and we know that we can do that also more or less with sort of, well, PHP, at least JavaScript at least, so we can do that here also. They are sort of moving in a direction where they sort of lifting up web, mobile, desktop. That is sort of areas they are moving into. They are, yes, gaming, yeah, of course, gaming, they're putting in machine learning and AI, yeah. Maybe that's just nice words that are sort of very hyped, important at this current age in time. But there's you can do this type of applications if you are going into these application areas. Also doing microservices, Internet of Things. Yeah, maybe that's what we get a sort of a small taste at when we move on to Monday, doing some kind of server REST API. And they have this cloud thing that they are putting up a lot of effort into. And I do think that next course after this will be a cloud course, I think. And from what I hear, they will sort of put up stuff on the cloud, Azure, Microsoft technology, for sort of, well, for example, put up a web server and make it sort of public for everybody to reach it. So we will not do this cloud part here, but you might do it in the next course. Okay, let's just, Microsoft is doing a lot of effort to sort of sell us the open source community and building a community around it, and they are sort of moving then from being a, could we say, closed company to be a bit more open company with their technologies. Yeah, I would say that. So it is a shift for them. So all this technology we have, they have put it on a, they say, independent organization that is hosting the technologies and making the ecosystem around it work. And how are you actually coding this when I am writing my code? How does what tools am I using? And if you think of me, I'm doing at home. I'm doing terminal. I'm doing mainly Mac, Linux. Sure, I could be on the Microsoft Windows 10 also. But many of the you will see when you review the videos I provided to you, you will see a lot of Visual Studio 2019, a full-featured IDE, coolish, drop-downs and a bunch of, I think they call it AI, some artificial intelligence help me writing my code. I'm going to use the, let's say, the JSON, and it finds out, oh, you need to use JSON, import it up there. And by whips, something happens and it's updated up there. So it's a lot of, we could call it magic. If you compare it to my ordinary development environment with at home, more plain, text editor. I want to have control of everything myself. Otherwise, I become nervous. So it's really two very, very different ways to work in the development environment. So it might be a bit harder for me then to sort of look at these videos and see what's happening. I want to sort of translate it to my environment, my Atom and my .NET Run. But that, I guess that is just one step, and when you have sort of stepped over that, then it's sort of easier and makes it easier then. But it could be that if we, in then role-playing game, if we as a company choose this technology, maybe we should all be on Visual Studio 2019, all on the same development environment, because maybe it makes us a bit faster, secure programmer, easier to be in. Maybe. And before you go into this assignment then, you need sort of one major selection you need to do before you move on. Should I do this in 2019? Or should I do it in Atom or perhaps Visual Studio Code, which is it's more on the Atom side, if you could say that. So you need to decide that. I did it all when I put up this. I tried all plain vanilla, Atom, terminal, and run it. Okay, so that is the decision you need to do. I really don't have any recommendations for it. Anyway, we do. And what we are going to do, like I said before, get the .NET Core SDK. That is our starting point. That is what we install, and at least that is what I installed on my computer to get this up and running. Yes. So we are going to do, let's see what I have left here. We're going to move on to check some small example program just to see how it looks like. And there we are, review example programs. That is how it's going to look like. Is this the link I was looking for before? Let's see. Yes, this was the link I wanted to have there before. It was this .NET API browser, one common API for everything. And this is the place where when I know how to do my Hello World program, okay, yeah, then eventually I will be in here to find reference documentation or morph.py. Is that a constant? Maybe, I don't know. It's a library system, morph.py. I assume that when you are a Java programmer, you are sort of well aware of this namespaces and how things are organized. And so we find the how to use it, what to include in a sort of, and some sample programs. So that is the link I should put onto Canvas once we are done. Okay, so let's take 15 minutes break, and then we move on reviewing the code samples, and then we take the project. Okay, so we start 10 past.